You said we were going to a place Walt Disney built.
No, Peter, I said supported.
Rachel Zegler's Snow White wasn't just a box office bomb, it's turning into a full-blown Hollywood horror story. What started as Disney's glossy reboot of a beloved classic has spiraled into a reputation train wreck, complete with public backlash.
For remaking the movie, they just got rid of the dwarfs. But they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures. You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it. The disability, like we're a disability group, you just erase that whole.
They say all you have to do to make your wish come true is let it echo, 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 echo.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
Viral parodies, and now, according to insiders, a behind-the-scenes tantrum after Family Guy absolutely roasted her performance in their Snow White parody. Allegedly, Rachel lost it. Like, full meltdown mode. Why? Because the episode didn't just poke fun,
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension: racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
It's awful, generic. Never mind that the lyrics make no sense at all. All you have to do to make your dream come true is let it echo. Is it like on a metaphor?
Part of the first, fairy tale ever told.
torched everything about her controversial take on Snow White, from the marketing missteps to her now infamous interviews. And the timing? Brutal. This parody aired while Disney was still dealing with the fallout of Snow White's box office disaster. And according to reports,
there is a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Weird. So apparently, according to them and according to the writers of Snow White, women can't even want to be in love anymore.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative.
Queen, playing the evil queen. It was pretty amazing.
Into this, the first villain Disney ever had. It's really getting myself into this big crown.
Zegler's own PR team is now scrambling to contain the damage. But this isn't just about a cartoon roast. This is about what happens when ego meets failure, when public image crumbles, and when the industry starts asking, is Rachel Zegler actually worth the risk anymore? Let's break this all down.
Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
She came out and she said, I apologize. Like, I went too far. But it wasn't
hardcore. They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
Broke out with this news, and I'm very, very, very excited and looking forward.
It's got extra musical numbers that are incredibly unnecessary that really add to that runtime. And let me go ahead and let you know that they're absolutely f***ing atrocious.
So what exactly did Family Guy do? In true Family Guy fashion, they didn't hold back. The episode aired earlier this month and wasted zero time before taking direct aim at Disney's failed Snow White reboot. In one scene, Meg plays a version of Snow White, but instead of singing sweet songs or charming woodland creatures, she's stomping around yelling at the dwarfs about feminism, cancel culture, and how she doesn't need a prince to save her. Sound familiar? Yup. It was a full-on jab at Rachel Zegler's interview circuit, where she repeatedly bashed the 1937 original. The dialogue was scarily close to actual lines Rachel had used during press events, and fans caught on immediately. Twitter, or X, whatever we're calling it, lit up. TikTok was flooded with reactions. Clips of the scene exploded with captions, like, Family Guy just ended Rachel Zegler, and Seth MacFarlane said what we were all thinking. And the kicker? The writers didn't even try to mask it. The parody was Rachel. Everyone knew it. And allegedly, that's when the meltdown started. According to sources close to the situation, Rachel was not laughing at all. Insiders claim that as soon as the Family Guy episode aired, Zegler contacted her team in what's being described as a furious panic. One source said she thought this would die down, not blow back up again. Allegedly, Rachel accused her own PR reps of failing to protect her image. She wanted statements prepped, influencers looped in to defend her, and, weirdly enough, even considered posting a response video, until someone convinced her to delete the draft. The tantrum, according to insiders, wasn't just about Family Guy. It was about what it symbolized. This wasn't a random hate post. This was mainstream comedy dragging her. When Family Guy starts parodying you, it means the industry thinks your reputation is a joke. And that realization hit her hard. Too hard. Let's rewind. Because this Family Guy roast didn't come out of nowhere. It was just the latest nail in the Snow White coffin. The live-action Snow White was supposed to be Disney's next billion-dollar franchise reboot. They threw a massive budget behind it, reportedly $200 to $40 million plus with marketing. The cast was stacked. The promotional campaign was global, and yet it flopped hard. Opening weekend numbers came in shockingly low. International numbers didn't help. The film failed to break even, let alone soar. But why did it fail? That's where Rachel's role becomes undeniable. From the jump, her press tour was riddled with controversy. She publicly mocked the original 1937 film, calling it weird and outdated. She dismissed the love story, she questioned the prince's intentions, and she seemed to do it with this smug, self-congratulatory tone that just didn't sit right with longtime fans of the franchise. Disney was stunned. Execs allegedly tried to reel her in, but by then, the damage was done. The internet dubbed it Not My Snow White before the movie even hit theaters. After the box office disaster, things got worse behind the scenes. Industry insiders began leaking stories. Talent agents started using phrases like radioactive and hard to work with. Rumors started circulating that future projects with Rachel were either being paused or scrapped entirely. One casting director reportedly said, "She needs a win, but nobody wants to be the one to give her the ball." And after the Family Guy episode aired, that whisper campaign got louder. Executives began referencing her name as a case study in bad PR. Producers who once thought she had A-list potential started pulling back. And to be honest, the mockery wasn't just about the role. It was about how she handled the spotlight, her attitude, her delivery, her complete misreading of the audience. The takeaway? People weren't rooting for Rachel. They were rooting for her to be humbled. Social media has always been a double-edged sword. And in Rachel's case, it's been straight up savage after. Family Guy aired, Twitter threads compiled her old interviews, TikTok edits spliced her statements with scenes from the parody. YouTubers jumped in with reactions, takedowns, and think pieces titled, "Why Nobody Likes Rachel Zegler Anymore." One of the top-liked comments under a parody clip read, "She turned a fairy tale into a lecture, and then wondered why nobody bought a ticket." That kind of brutal simplicity hits hard, and it captures what a lot of audiences feel. They didn't want a reimagining. They wanted magic, whimsy, heart, and instead they got a press tour that felt more like a TED Talk about patriarchy. The internet dragged her, and instead of diffusing it with humility, Rachel doubled down. And Family Guy just turned that whole mess into primetime comedy. Internally, Disney is scrambling. Allegedly, after Snow White bombed, executives held a series of emergency meetings to reassess their strategy. And let's just say, Zegler's name wasn't being celebrated in those rooms. Reports claim the studio has frozen plans for any immediate sequels. Merch partners are allegedly fuming over how poorly branded products performed. And the final blow? Some insiders say Disney is now rethinking how they cast future live-action leads, specifically steering clear of controversial internet personas. Translation: Rachel became the example of what not to do. And if Family Guy was the exclamation mark at the end of that sentence, you better believe the execs noticed. One anonymous insider allegedly said, "We knew we had a PR problem. What we didn't expect was for Family Guy to go viral with it. Brutal. So where's Rachel now?" According to sources, her team is scrambling behind the scenes. One publicist allegedly pitched the idea of a charity campaign to rebuild goodwill. Another pushed for an indie project that could earn critical acclaim. There was even talk of a surprise appearance at a Disney fan convention to show humility and re-engage the fan base. But here's the issue. Rachel's ego allegedly won't let her play ball. She still believes the backlash is overblown. That the media twisted her words. That Family Guy was bullying. Instead of a redemption arc, it's starting to look like a standoff. And in Hollywood, when the audience turns against you and you refuse to pivot, you don't get a second chance. You get replaced. This is the part no one saw coming. Not even the studios. Not even her fans. And definitely not Rachel herself. Rachel Zegler wasn't just hyped. She was anointed. She had the Broadway pedigree, the Spielberg stamp of approval, and a lead role in what should have been Disney's next billion-dollar juggernaut. The industry rolled out the red carpet and basically handed her the keys to the castle. But within months, that Cinderella story shattered, and now she's not the star of the moment, She's the warning sign, the don't do what she did example whispered across sound stages and PR firms. Family Guy's brutal parody didn't come out of nowhere. It came from a place of cultural truth. They didn't invent the criticism, they reflected it, bluntly, loudly, cartoonishly. And what made it sting even more? The fact that everyone watching instantly got it. There was no confusion, no debate. Everyone knew who they were mocking. And even people who hadn't followed the Snow White drama closely laughed and said, "Oh yeah, that tracks." That's when you know the fall isn't just real. It's complete. Zegler went from breakout ingenue to box office liability in record time, from press darling to meme material, from Spielberg's Golden Girl to the animated butt of the joke. That kind of reversal, it doesn't just bruise a career, it crushes it. And here's what makes it worse. This didn't happen because of some scandal beyond her control. There was no leaked tape, no massive betrayal, no behind-the-scenes sabotage. This was self-inflicted. A PR disaster born out of arrogance, tone-deaf interviews, and a failure to understand what audiences actually want from their fairy tale leads. She had every advantage. But instead of using them to build something iconic, she used them to alienate, to antagonize, and to lecture. She treated a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity like a platform to sound superior. And now that platforms collapsed under her, producers have allegedly started blacklisting her. Studios are tiptoeing around her name. Merch partners are distancing themselves. Even agents are said to be advising their clients not to publicly support her for fear of the backlash bleeding into their own brands. And let's not forget the fans. The same ones who cheered for her when she got cast in West Side Story now mock her in TikTok edits. Reddit threads have turned her into the subject of ongoing roasts. YouTube commentators treat her career arc like a case study in how to lose. An audience in 10 interviews or less. This isn't just about a failed movie. It's about what happens when Hollywood puts its faith in someone who sees the spotlight as a weapon instead of a responsibility. The tragedy? She could have owned the moment. She could have apologized, clarified, reconnected. Instead, she allegedly threw tantrums and doubled down, dragging everyone else down with her. Now she's not Snow White. She's not even the evil queen. She's just the girl who had it all and blew it. And nobody predicted that, except maybe Family Guy. Rachel Zegler's Snow White disaster wasn't just a movie gone wrong. It became the ultimate Hollywood cautionary tale. The kind of high-budget implosion that studios study in boardrooms and PR teams whisper about behind closed doors. What happens when arrogance walks into a legacy franchise and assumes the crown before earning it? You get this. A $240 million misfire that couldn't even buy audience goodwill. This wasn't a harmless flop. This was a total rejection, and not just of the film, but of the star herself. Rachel didn't just lose control of the narrative, she torched it. She had every chance to pivot, to reflect, to even pretend she heard the criticism. Instead, she allegedly went on a blame tour. She attacked the 1937 original. She doubled down in interviews. She allegedly demanded her PR team do more, instead of doing the one thing that could have helped her: listening. Let's be honest, Hollywood has seen plenty of overconfident stars, but this one hit different, because Rachel didn't just bite the hand that fed her. She posted about it, rolled her eyes about it, and smirked on red carpets while doing it. She talked down to the very people who buy tickets. She called the story weird, mocked the prince as a stalker, and framed herself as some sort of savior of modern storytelling. But here's the problem. Audiences never asked for a savior. They wanted Snow White. They wanted heart, magic, nostalgia. What they got was a lecture in lipstick and a castle full of condescension. And now she's a punchline, parodied by Family Guy, dragged across TikTok, and memed into oblivion. This isn't just bad optics, it's industry exile, and she's the one who lit the match. The film didn't fail because it was too bold or too different. It failed because it was joyless, soulless, and Zegler's performance, both, on and off screen, reflected that same hollow energy. There was no warmth, no charm, just attitude. In the end, she wasn't the heroine. She became the villain in her own fairy tale. The queen scowling into the magic mirror, asking why no one still claps. And the mirror? Oh, it's speaking loud and clear. Because you made it all about you. Because audiences stopped believing the moment she started rewriting the script, literally and figuratively. They watched her turn a timeless fairy tale into a personal soapbox, and they opted out. The box office didn't just dip, it cratered. The costumes didn't just flop, they sat on clearance racks untouched. And Disney is allegedly scrambling to undo the damage with new casting strategies, canceled spin-offs, and shelved projects, this wasn't just the fall of Snow White. It was the fall of Rachel's image, and Hollywood is watching. Directors, producers, merch partners, they're all watching. And they're quietly saying the same thing. She's not bankable. She's not trusted, and she's not it. The irony? Snow White was supposed to mark the rise of Rachel Zegler as a modern-day princess. Instead, it's become a symbol of everything not to do when given a crown. The role didn't ruin her. She ruined the role. So if you're still wondering why Family Guy went so hard, because they didn't need to exaggerate. They just echoed what everyone was already saying. They held up a cartoon mirror, and what they reflected back was brutal honesty dressed in animation. No fairy dust. No happy ending. Just the cold, ugly truth. Rachel Zegler may have walked into Snow White thinking she was rewriting history, but in the end,